Welcome to the story of Amelia and William and how their love blossomed. Amelia grew up in a troubled town, a place where the streets were often marred by street gangs and frequent fights. Every week, it seemed, there was a new case about someone being wounded on the streets, and the town's residents had grown accustomed to the chaos. The suffering of others had become so commonplace that it no longer surprised anyone, and people would simply look away as they passed by. When Amelia was around 13 years old, she and her close friend Liz began to notice a subtle change in their town. The streets had become cleaner, and the frequency of crimes had diminished. However, every few months, news would break about someone being rushed to the hospital due to a drug overdose. Amelia and Liz, like many in the town, didn't pay it much heed. Homelessness and drug addiction were prevalent issues, and they assumed it was just another unfortunate consequence of life in their town. Fast forward to Amelia's 18th birthday, and she finally had the freedom she craved, away from her parents' strict rules. She moved in with her college friends, and they started spending their nights exploring the town. It was during these late-night escapades that Amelia noticed something strange about the streets. The individuals who had been diagnosed with drug overdoses all had two tiny holes on their wrists, a detail that had seemingly gone unnoticed by most. One fateful night, Amelia and Liz found themselves at a club. Liz had always been attracted to bad boys, perhaps because that was all she knew growing up in a neighborhood filled with troubled youths. This time, however, the group of men who took an interest in Liz seemed peculiar. They had the classic bad boy appearance, but also an eerie air of perfection. Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about them. As Liz was charmed by the handsome, yet strange group of men, Amelia's unease grew. She decided to discreetly follow them as they left the club. The men, who had been wearing sunglasses at night, discarded their shades, and Amelia couldn't help but be drawn to the mystery surrounding them. She continued to tail them until they entered a dimly lit alleyway. In that secluded corner, the leader of the group began to exert a powerful influence over Liz. She had never seen her friend so easily swayed, which made her even more determined to investigate. But as she moved closer to get a better view, a man named William, part of another group, blocked her path. William and his friends approached the group of mysterious men, and what unfolded next was unexpected. They beat down the men with a frightening ease, as if they possessed inhuman strength. As Amelia looked back to check on Liz, she realized her friend seemed disoriented and had no memory of what had just transpired. It was as though her memory had been wiped clean. Amelia couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something sinister was happening in her town, something far more organized and dangerous than she had ever imagined. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place as she recalled the two tiny holes on Liz's wrist, matching the descriptions in the news of the victims of drug overdoses. Now, she was determined to unravel the mystery behind these occurrences and to protect her town from the shadowy forces that lurked within. As William mingled with his friends in the bustling club, he kept an observant eye on the crowd, instinctively attuned to any unusual behavior or signs of trouble. It was during one of these moments that he noticed Amelia's furtive glances towards the group of men who had taken an interest in Liz. Amelia, standing not too far from her friend, couldn't help but stare in the direction of the intriguing, yet peculiar group. Her gaze was marked by a mixture of curiosity and concern, and it didn't escape William's keen perception. The club's dimly lit atmosphere and the vibrant music made it challenging for most to notice these subtleties, but not for William. He picked up on Amelia's behavior, the way her eyes stayed fixed on the enigmatic group, the subtle narrowing of her eyes, and the occasional exchange of hushed words with her friend. William recognized that she wasn't just a casual observer, there was a deeper purpose to her intense scrutiny. Curiosity piqued, William decided to pay closer attention to Amelia and her friend. He couldn't help but wonder what had captured her attention so thoroughly. Could it be that she noticed there were supernatural beings in the town? Her presence stood out in a sea of dancing and revelry, and he knew that there was more to her than met the eye. Intrigued and vigilant, William made a mental note of Amelia, planning to keep a discreet eye on her throughout the evening. He suspected that her actions might reveal something important, and he was determined to decipher the mystery behind her fascination with the group of men who had flirted with Liz. After William and his friends swiftly subdued the enigmatic group of men who had taken an interest in Liz, the dark and narrow street corner remained in an eerie silence, with only the dim glow of distant streetlights illuminating the scene. As the confrontation unfolded, Amelia had been standing just a few steps away, frozen by a mixture of shock and concern for her friend. Once the brawl had ended, the atmosphere grew tense. Amelia's heart raced as she watched William and his friends, who had protected her and Liz, standing over the fallen men. It was clear that the strange group of men hadn't been what they seemed. William's gaze shifted from the men to Amelia. His eyes bore into her, studying her closely. In that moment, it was as if they were the only two people in the world, the chaos of the club and the violent altercation now fading into the background. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low and calm. Amelia nodded, finally snapping out of her stupor. I think so. Thank you for helping us." William extended a hand to help her up, his grip firm yet gentle. As she took his hand, she couldn't help but notice his deep, enigmatic eyes and the air of quiet strength that seemed to surround him. "Better stay away from these parts," William warned, his eyes flickering toward the now unconscious group of men. "They're not the kind of company you want to keep." Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that she was in the presence of someone who knew more than he was letting on, but she didn't press the matter further. Her focus was on her friend Liz, who was still disoriented, trying to recall what had happened. As the night grew darker, Amelia's thoughts were filled with questions about the strange men and their influence over Liz. She couldn't ignore the two tiny holes on her friend's wrist, a detail that continued to trouble her. What had just transpired had left her with more questions than answers, and she was determined to unravel the mystery that had suddenly landed at her doorstep. William's presence had become a significant factor in her quest for the truth, and their paths were now undeniably entwined, whether they liked it or not. As Amelia watched William and his friends disappear into the night, she was left with a lingering feeling of unease. She wanted to get in touch with him, to learn more about the mysterious men and the vampire clan they belonged to, but when she approached him for his contact information, he refused to share any details. Instead, he simply urged her to stay safe and keep away from the dangerous elements that now seemed to surround her. Days turned into weeks, and Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that her world was unraveling. Her determination to uncover the truth grew stronger, even as a new danger loomed on the horizon. One evening, as she walked through the troubled town, a different gang, one not associated with William's group, targeted her. Panic set in as she realized she was trapped. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost, William appeared once again, coming to her rescue. He fought off the gang members and ensured Amelia's safety. As they caught their breath in the aftermath of the brawl, William decided it was time to reveal the unsettling truth. "They're vampires," he said, his voice laden with gravity. "But not like the vampires from the stories. It's hard to decipher their species, because they've kept their true nature hidden. The tales people have heard about vampires don't correlate with their characteristics. Due to the corruption in this town, all the famous cases have been diagnosed as drug overdoses, always involving people who don't have a family or a home. It's a way to prevent anyone from suspecting something unusual." Amelia's eyes widened with shock as she processed the revelation. Vampires? In her town? It seemed like a surreal nightmare. William continued, "Because we stopped them, they're definitely going to target you more. Unfortunately, you have a gift that sets you apart. Your memories can't be erased, unlike your friend Liz. You're a big threat to them, and they won't stop until they eliminate that threat." The implications of what William was saying weighed heavily on Amelia. Not only was she dealing with a shadowy vampire clan, but the corruption in the town ran so deep that even politicians might be involved in this masquerade. William dropped another bombshell, mentioning that one of the town's most powerful politicians, who had become the mayor since Amelia turned 18, had vampire roots. However, this politician was a hybrid, a mixture of vampire and wizard, and he possessed an even greater level of power. Amelia's world had truly turned upside down. She was now thrust into a dangerous game of secrets and hidden agendas, where her very existence posed a threat to the vampire's cover. With William's guidance and protection, she needed to navigate the treacherous waters of her troubled town and confront the unsettling reality that her actions could potentially expose a hidden world lurking in the shadows. As Amelia found herself thrust into the perilous world of vampires hidden amidst the troubled town, she discovered a steadfast ally in William. With each passing day, William's presence became a reassuring constant in her life. They grew closer and forged a bond born out of shared adversity. Amelia's determination to uncover the truth, and William's unwavering support, led them to devise a daring plan. Together, they embarked on a mission to expose the corrupt mayor and dismantle the web of deception woven by him and his followers. Their goal was not only to rid the town of the sinister vampire clan but also to restore it to a place of safety, prosperity, and justice. In the weeks that followed, their carefully crafted strategy began to yield results. The town gradually transformed, shedding the cloak of corruption that had enveloped it for so long. One by one, they eradicated the dark influences that had allowed the vampire clan to thrive. The homeless population, previously neglected and suffering, received the support they desperately needed, no longer invisible in the eyes of the community. As their plan unfolded, it was evident that change was sweeping through the town. The people, once resigned to the chaos and violence that plagued their lives, began to experience a newfound sense of security and hope. The dark secrets that had held the town in a vice-like grip for years were finally being laid bare, and the town was on the path to recovery. Ultimately, the momentous transformation led to an election that saw William ascend to the position of mayor. With his leadership, the town underwent a renaissance, emerging from its sordid past into a brighter, more hopeful future. The ex-mayor, Wren, who had been the linchpin of the vampire clan's covert operations, was exiled to a remote mountain far from civilization. There, he lived among prisoners, isolated from the world, no longer able to wield power and influence. Under William's governance, the town became a haven of peace and prosperity. The scourge of the vampire clan had been eradicated, the corruption had been purged, and the homeless population found solace in their newly revitalized community. Amelia and William's journey, born from adversity, had culminated in a triumph of justice, illuminating the path from darkness to redemption, and the troubled town had been reclaimed from the shadows that had once threatened to consume it.